All right. Welcome this afternoon to our special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. We have three things on our regular agenda. I don't see any need to put anything on consent. Oh, the Zoom? Okay. Robert Moore, are you on Zoom? Can you hear us?
Yes, Commissioner, I can't hear you. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So it looks like everyone can hear us in the room and on Zoom. I don't see any reason why we have anything on consent. I think we can walk through these three items. On our regular agenda, we do have three items on there. The first one is to ratify the signatures on the order calling for the special meeting today, Thursday, March 18th. That's a ratification. I'm sure there's probably no questions to that. We're here in the meeting. So, we make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept item number 1 on the regular agenda.
And I'll suspend all rules so that I can second, and I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. And number 2 is to accept the letter of resignation from Tanner Ainge, received March 17th, 2021, vacating the Utah County seats, Commission Seat A.
I make a motion that we accept item number 2, former Commissioner Ainge's letter of resignation received yesterday, March 17th, 2021.
And I'll second that motion. All in favor of accepting that letter and that resignation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Number 3 is to approve and sign a letter giving notice to the Utah County Republican Party liaison of a vacancy, the Utah County Commission Seat A, and inviting the party and liaison to submit the name of an individual to fill the vacancy pursuant to Utah Section Code 20A-1-508. And I think there is some comment on this one.
Thank you, Commissioners. Obviously, when the first of the week came, none of us understood that this was going to be an issue. And when we learned, I believe on Tuesday evening, unofficially that Commissioner Ainge was resigning, and then officially on Wednesday that Commissioner Ainge was resigning, that has placed into motion a process to replace the commissioner, because of course we need to have 3 commissioners functioning in the Utah County Commission. I would like to detail for the commission what the commission already knows, but for the benefit of the public record and also for the benefit of those who are listening. The process under Utah law to replace a midterm vacancy in a county commission, well, in any county office with the exception of the county attorney, which has a different process, is that this body, within 10 days of the resignation, is required to send a notice to the party the party to which the commissioner belonged. In this instance, it would be the Republican Party. And upon receiving that notice, the Republican Party has 30 days with which to appoint one person according to the bylaws of that party to be presented to the county commission, and then after that the county commission is by law to appoint that one person. Now, under normal circumstances, I would suggest that process, which has been in place in one form or another for a long time, for a lot of years, in one form or another with subtle changes. It used to be that they required three names to be given to the county commission. But we are dealing in a time frame where the normal operations of the Republican Party in Utah County have been completely disrupted because of the pandemic. As you know, because you're both members of that party, as am I, there's a process in place whereby people have neighborhood caucuses in March to elect delegates, county delegates, to attend the county convention. And at the county convention, those county delegates elect a central committee, and the central committee then becomes the governing body for the Republican Party. As we all know, there were those caucuses occur every 2 years on the even years of a general election, and the delegates serve for 2 years. As you know, in 2020, because of the pandemic, that caucus process was canceled, which put into fairly significant commotion the question of who's going to be county delegates and state delegates. And in many instances, county delegates were made county delegates by precinct chairs never having been elected in their caucus meetings, because they were carryovers from 2018 until 2020, and there were many vacancies from people who had moved or people who didn't want to serve as a delegate, and so those delegate positions got filled one way or another, but not through the caucus system. And so we have a situation where we have, I think, a threefold problem. Number one, you have a law that vests authority in a political party to not only determine who the nominee is going to be, but number two, the law allows that party to determine what the process is by which the new commissioner is selected. And so, in theory, there's nothing that would prevent the Republican Party, the Central Committee of the Republican Party, who again would be elected by people who may not have been, and likely, many of whom likely were not elected at their caucus meetings, would have allowed this process as it currently stands would allow the Central Committee to say, well, we will direct that the chairman of the Republican Party or the vice chairman of the Republican Party or a certain, some other officer become the candidate. And under state law, that person would become the next county commissioner, never having been elected either by the delegates at large or by the general population at large. Given the fact that we have a county delegate process which has not been followed by the caucus system in 3 years, given the fact that we are not dealing with a primary election in which a Republican was chosen among Republicans, but through a general election where Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliated voters, other parties voted for this commissioner or not. And given the fact that this law doesn't even allow a process to replace the county commissioner if the county commissioner isn't a member of a party, I believe that there is some reason to question whether this law, as written, when coupled with the facts of the last 3 years of a pandemic, can give any certainty to the residents of Utah County that this vacant seat over here to your right will be filled and voted for by an electorate that follows a process in which the public can have confidence. And so my request to you would be to table this agenda item on sending notification to the Republican Party, and that you would authorize the county attorney's office to research the question of whether there are constitutional problems with this law as written and applied, and how it would be applied under the auspices of this pandemic, and meet next Wednesday in your regularly scheduled meeting, because that would in fact provide us the time to research the issue, to brief the county commission as to what the policy issues surrounding it are, and if our conclusion is that yes, we ought to send this to the Republican Party, we're still well within the 10-day period as provided by law. In short, I don't know that there's any reason for us to rush a process on day 1 or day 2 of that 10-day period, when I believe that there are significant considerations that we ought to be looking at. Those are my comments. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Somehow I thought that I was not going to sit down unscathed.
Yeah. You bring up some interesting questions, which I don't have a remedy for, and with it being new enough that it's hard for me to actually formulate all the way through the processes with it. Some of the problem I have is this is the law that we have in place right now, and what are you seeing as a possible outcome by looking at this? What could it be, or because I'm not sure even what that looks like, in the sense of we look at it and say that this is going to go to a general election with everyone in the whole county. Is that one of the remedies to it? Is it or is it a primary where it's a closed primary because it was a Republican seat? I'm not sure what the remedies are that you're referring to.
Well, let me first say what I'm not suggesting.
Okay.
What I'm not suggesting is that we fail to follow the law. The law requires that you notify the party, in this case, the Republican Party, within 10 days of the vacancy being created. I'm not asking you that you disregard that. What I'm asking you is that you table this decision. A letter can be sent on the 10th day and still be in full compliance, because I believe that the general interests of the electorate, the 300,000 registered voters in this county, expect of us, of elected officials, to make sure that everything we do is in accordance with their will. And so where could this go? Well, and we could come back next week and I could stand at this podium and I can say, you know what, I'm satisfied that this process is legal and this is the way it ought to go. And we send the letter, or you send the letter, and the process is followed however it is. The second alternative would be to say, you know, I've got concerns about this law, and I would ask the county commission as a body to ask the county attorney's office to challenge the constitutionality of this law, since that it disenfranchises some voters over others and allows for a process not that is defined in state law, but an electoral process that is defined by a party which hasn't held an organizing or hasn't had a caucus meeting in 3 years. But at this point, what I'm asking you to do is simply pause a little bit. This decision of Commissioner Ainge to resign is barely 48 hours old, at least the news of it. We have at least 8 more days in which we can comply with the law. And I think that prudence would suggest that we take our time and answer the questions that I have raised here. I could come back in a week and be completely satisfied that this process is fine and legal and away we go. I could come back in a week with my office having researched this issue and said, you know what, I believe that we ought to take this case to the district court and ask the court to invalidate this law and order a special election or order a primary election. Whatever this county commission decided was the best, because you know I'm wearing my hat as the Utah County Attorney here, and I view my role as essential to ensuring the able and effective operations of government. And I want to ensure that however this vacancy is filled, it is filled in a way that gives the appropriate voice to the appropriate people.
And I don't mind giving a little bit of time. I don't know if, and I want to be deliberate, you know, in looking at this. I always think that's kind of a wise thing to do, especially if you have time for deliberation on it. A couple of concerns then I'll voice, and I'll voice them publicly. One, I think that I want to make sure that the process is clean and fair. I think that's always.
And that's why I stand today.
And I appreciate that. Second, and I'm going to voice this too, is that there's a caucus convention system that we have in place, and I in no way want to undermine any of that in any fashion or form. And I want to make sure that that is considered as we look at as we potentially look at this over a period of time. We all come from that to a certain degree. We've lived with that, and it's been under attack. And so I want to make sure that this process that we're looking at does not undermine that any further than what it already has been.
May I say something on that regard?
Yeah.
I am a huge proponent of the caucus system. I've gone through that process twice in the last 3 years. And it is the grassroots basis, the fundamental basis of our democracy. One of the options could be to ask that the Republican Party go through a caucus process in this process, a special caucus process, whereby neighbors get together now and select delegates to select this new commissioner. I want to do nothing to undermine the caucus process, but I know inherently that there are hundreds of delegate positions unfilled that will be filled by party people without the consideration or the deliberation of neighborhood caucus attendees. And so if we're going to build the caucus process, let's have a caucus in 2021 to fill this vacancy.
Yeah, but this is going to be a central committee voting body, right? Not necessarily, not the county delegates.
Under the law, it states the process rests entirely with, in this case, the Republican Party to follow its process. That process can change on the morning of the election if the delegates change it and elect to do so. That's one of the things that is so disconcerting about this, is that this law doesn't give power to the Republican Party to determine who the candidate is. This law gives power to the Republican Party to determine what the process to determine that candidate is.
They'd have to have the full body to change their bylaws. And if this election happened before that, they wouldn't have time to change bylaws. Anyway, I think that I don't mind going through a deliberate process and looking at it. And Commissioner, I don't have any idea what your thoughts are on this, but I would, if it was me, I wouldn't mind tabling this, but with the understanding that with the 24-hour notification that it would be put back on, not necessarily straight to a Wednesday meeting. It could be a meeting earlier than that.
Absolutely.
And I would anticipate that your office would get to it quickly, because we want the seat to be filled as soon as possible, not later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You tell me how much time you need. If you're willing to
Well,
have
you have
us
to
look
work
into
hard over
it.
the weekend, probably.
Sure, we can do it. You want to do it on Monday?
Well, I'm just saying we leave it open for,
Yeah.
you have to have a 24-hour notice, and so that's,
Yeah, my initial thought is that currently this chair belongs to the Republican Party because that's who the individual belonged to when he resigned. But the question that the attorney is bringing up is that what if we have a unaffiliated member resign, or someone who unaffiliated and then resigned? What happens in that process? And that's a valid one, because that's a possibility.
And I would counter and simply say, I think I know what your heart is, Commissioner Sakovic, but I would not say for one moment this seat belongs to the Republican Party.
No,
I would
I'm
say
just,
that this seat belongs to the people of the Utah County.
yes, yes. You are correct, but it is the Republican, the Republicans at large and
Sure.
others that allowed this Republican to take his seat. And so, to me, it belongs to the Republican, well, that's the wrong word perhaps, but the first right of refusal belongs to the Republican Party on this case. I'm hearing what you're saying again about what if the individual were to unaffiliate and then resign afterwards. And so we would have a seat
Right.
that was previously held by a now unaffiliated person who maybe occupied it for a time and then resigned, and now it becomes an unaffiliated seat. How do we address that in the state law? And so far, it appears that there is no remedy for that.
And I would be fine, frankly. I mean, this is not an attempt on my part to allow people who only have money to get elected. This is an attempt on my part to maintain the integrity of the process. And there is nothing in this process, particularly what we've learned over the last year of the pandemic, that would prevent a process whereby virtual caucus meetings were held 2 weeks from now, in which delegates were elected, and a virtual convention held 3 or 4 weeks from now. My point is, these need to be delegates. If this is indeed the process, the Central Committee needs to be elected by delegates who have been elected by their neighborhoods, or if the delegates at large that are going to decide this, it need to be delegates who are elected by their neighborhoods, not people, not decisions being made by people who have an extraordinary say because they happen to be part of the party leadership.
And I'm thinking when Richard Nixon resigned, Gerald Ford was appointed, I think, as vice president during that party ticket, and so he was never elected at large. He was,
Right.
and then he assumed the presidency because of the constitutional provisions.
Right.
But in this
But-
case,
Right.
they both happen to belong to the same party. But he assumed that role when Richard Nixon resigned. And again, I see where you're going with this, but I'm thinking there's an enormous amount of complex effort to create a caucus that has been asleep for, well, asleep is the wrong way to put it, but not used for virtually 3 years. And many have perhaps gone other ways and no longer wish to serve or are serving some, but can't give the focus. It would take the party an extended amount of effort to reach out and get some responses back from the current members before they can decide where it needs to be filled and what does not. So I'm seeing a logistical issue there. And I'm seeing that if we were to delay this, this is local, not the same, but the national level, we've gone through an enormous amount of questions about the electoral integrity. And that did a major shakeup throughout the nation and globally. And so I see that affecting the county government and trying to do its work to make sure that the election transition happens properly. I see the residents within the county uncertain as to what's going on in the county government. So I'm concerned about that. So I'm thinking that I would rather, and if we were to give you another 7 days, that would give us, we would be into the 9th day, because the 8th day would be about 10 o'clock Wednesday morning next. So we would be into the 9th day when we would actually meet again if we were to put this off a week. And I don't think there's enough time under the current statute to allow for that. Even though you may come back with something substantial, it would delay, and it wouldn't just affect this particular body, but it would affect the county government, the county itself, and the state itself in large respects. But I see the validity of what you're bringing up. My preference is that we go forward and do two things, that we go ahead and submit this acceptance of the resignation to the party chair and not delay it, and at the same time request that you investigate this, because this will be an issue. It will come up.
Well, once you submit the letter to the party chair, our job is over.
Well, the point that you bring up actually is valid, and so I would.
Right,
I
but
would-
once the county has complied with its obligation under the law, we have no control whatsoever over what anyone else does because we've simply punched our ticket and now it's their job.
Well, I was thinking that the commission could request the county attorney to investigate this and to improve the law in the coming weeks.
Well, that's what I'm asking you to allow me to do, and I'm asking you to give me just a few days to do it.
And that's where I'm saying I feel exactly what you're saying, but I think it needs to be concurrent. We need to go forward with the process because we have, I don't know how many, I've heard as many as between 8 and 10 that want to get the process officially started. And this would delay it at least a week, perhaps longer, if we come back that there needs to be challenges in the courts.
This need not delay anything, Commissioner, because simply because they have 30 days to act doesn't mean they need to take 30 days to make a decision. If you give me until Monday to come up with a reasoned response to this, and you could sign the letter here, and with a motion to hold it until you'd heard from the county attorney's office and met with the county attorney's office. Then you wouldn't even have to have another meeting. Nothing here has to delay any process. All I'm saying is once the process is followed and the letter sent to the Republican Party, then you as a commission and I as the county attorney have no standing whatsoever to challenge the issue.
I think we would have standing because of the point you brought up. We need to address this. It needs to be brought
Well, if
to
we need to
closure.
address it, then why wouldn't we address it during our allotted 10-day period?
Because I see a ripple effect socially, party-wise, and it would potentially delay it beyond even 40 days in the current statute.
All right, I think we understand each other.
You know,
And
I could go with that option that we sign the letter and hold it till Monday. And if something, I think it's a pretty high hurdle. I don't know. I mean, I think it's really high. But anyway, I could go with signing the letter and then holding it till Monday. And if something come popping out that we're not seeing or whatever, and give you that chance to look at it. And then, and if not, then we send it on.
Hey, you are the commissioner. I'm just your advisor.
Yes, Mr. Attorney. But I'm thinking at the same time, we wouldn't need to sign the letter because I think it should be a public setting when we do that, except to take
Well,
that
then
choice
the
because
other option-
because the public will want to know what is
Well-
the actual outcome and why.
Fair enough. And so we could table this part of the meeting until Monday at a certain time. We
Yeah.
could do that too.
Would 4 o'clock Monday work for you? I think
I'm
it's
I'm here every
available.
day. Yeah, Monday's fine. I don't think the world would fall apart if you did it on your regular scheduled meeting on Wednesday.
Well,
But Monday's
yeah.
fine.
In this kind of a spirit of some compromise with it, I think it at least gives both sides, and deliberation and conversation are always good things. And
Agree.
I mean, my first thought is it's a super high bar.
Well, my
But-
intention in raising the issue is the sanctity of the elected official
Sure.
and the
I
election.
appreciate that.
And the election process. And I'm not speaking out against the Republican Party, nor am I speaking out against the caucus system. We haven't had a caucus in 3 years. And so, that's something that affects this, particularly when the law vests full authority in the party to determine the method by which the election is held.
Yeah.
I couldn't do a 4 o'clock. I've got a board meeting, Board of Health meeting, but 3 o'clock works for me.
Yeah, I got a call at 2, it ends at 3, but I can get out of there early, so 3 o'clock Monday.
o'clock.
3 o'clock Monday works.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
All right. So a motion then?
I'll make a motion that we continue item number 3 of the regular agenda, on today's regular agenda, March 18th. Oh,
Oh, sure. Yeah, you bet.
I didn't really plan on saying anything or speaking. I was coming just really to listen. Can I take this off while I speak?
Sure.
John St. Clair, Pleasant Grove. And a couple of thoughts, I guess, came to mind. One, the law is the law. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like we should be circumventing the law or trying to change the law. We just have to go with what the law is at the present time, whether we like it or not. Then we can change the law after the fact. The other point I just wanted to make is that, and I don't know if it's different or not, so you have to educate me on that, but in Senate District 14, they recently had a senator who resigned. And even though they hadn't had a caucus in 3 years and that kind of history, the Republican Party went through a process where the delegates of that district voted for the new senator, who is, I think his name is Kennedy. So I know that's a much smaller scale than all of Utah County, but it seems like if that process works for the party, that's the process they probably would use, and that process seems like it works. So why would we change it, try and modify it here last minute? And I would think the other point is, I think you want to fill this seat as quickly and efficiently as you can, just because a commission with 2 members is a tough way to go. I mean, you at least need 3, so you have can cast a vote if you have a tie or whatever. So those are my thoughts. I just was, again, listening in, just wanted to say a few words. It just seems like you follow the process you have and you keep moving forward as opposed to trying to study, and delay. And I think you need to fill that seat as quickly as you can.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks, John. It's good to see you. It's hard to recognize you without the mask on, or with the mask on. With the mask on, yeah.
Steve White, I'm the voting precinct chair of Utah County, Provo Canyon 1, and sit on the County Central Committee. And the inference from the county attorney is that somehow Stewart Pay and Company would do something skullduggerous. And anybody here who knows, Governor Herbert ascended to the county commission in the same way, by a seat being vacated and by him being selected after going through a central committee meeting. And so I don't have any problem with proceeding immediately, because I see people of goodwill and good character in the Republican Party leadership. Thank you. Oh, restate my conflict of interest. I will be one of those 8 to 10 people.
Commissioners, I am duty-bound to stand and say, I have intended no inference of skullduggery on anyone's part. This is about process. And I just want the record to be clear. I believe that Stewart Pay is a man of incredible integrity and honor. I love the caucus system. I've been through it twice in the last 3 years. I believe that the Central Committee are well-intentioned and good, honorable people. This has nothing to do with anyone's integrity. This has only to do with process.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, a motion? Unless there's more conversation.
I think about the current law. If we wait till Monday and find the issues that the attorney brought up, what that might require afterwards, I don't know what that end would be. What are your thoughts as to going forward with it today, after all? Because as everyone has said, the attorney, the other witnesses, that the party is full of individuals who are high caliber individuals and wouldn't try to usurp the process. Should we wait till Monday?
Well, and again, I'm not saying there's anything going on, and I've said that the bar is probably really super high, and on that, and what I don't know, I don't know. And if our county attorney thinks that maybe we should at least look at it and investigate it, and we have time and options, for me, it's pretty hard to say, let's just jump past that without not knowing what we don't know. And again, I would suspect that on Monday, that the letter is probably gonna be sent, because I just don't know how we get past, the high bar that I think would need to be there to say, wait a second, this process has got something, and I don't even know what that something is. And so, I don't necessarily have any, heartburn with being deliberate and a little bit slower on it, just to make sure that we have had opportunity to say, where we're at, and that we're going in a direction. And again, like I said, I would think at this point in time that Monday, that letter's gonna be sent. Because I just don't think that bar is gonna be able to be met. But if somebody says, let's take a look at it, why not? Why not just give that opportunity? There is time in there to do so.
Yeah, that gives us 4 days to reply,
Yeah.
so.
That's why I was not comfortable going all the way to the Wednesday. You got a weekend, basically, tomorrow and a weekend to look at it, and
Wednesday
Let's
would give us a day and a half to respond, so.
Yeah, right.
Then I make a motion that we go ahead and delay or continue this until Monday at 4 o'clock, or 3 o'clock, excuse me, 3 o'clock. That'd be March, what day is that? March 22nd.
22nd.
So 3 o'clock, March 22nd here to continue item number 3.
And I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. I do not think, do we have to send out another public notice since that's been continued, or what's the legal process
I
with
think we
that?
ought to send out public notice, or
I
yeah,
think that's
public
fair.
notice for that meeting.
Yeah,
Probably
Okay,
don't
so-
want to adjourn this meeting. I guess you'll continue this meeting until Monday,
yeah.
22nd at 3 o'clock.
So Alice, you'll make sure and send out that public notice, and you can send it out today or tomorrow. Doesn't have to wait till Sunday. And then we will not adjourn this meeting. We'll just continue this meeting. Okay, with that,
The motion to
well,
adjourn?
we don't.
Oh,
we
that's
won't-
right.
yeah.
You're right,
We
you're right,
won't,
you're
we
right.
won't, we won't adjourn. Okay. We had public comment already. Is there any other general public comment? Seeing none? Okay.
Okay.
We will see you on Monday.